Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this evening's festivities. I'd like to turn the time over briefly to our chairman, Sam Freshman, for a welcome.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for supporting Spire over these last 5 years. We've had a tremendous time, and I think you're going to enjoy this event just as we've had the others. We're not running out yet of honorable honorees. You're going to have a great group today. Just keep in mind, don't make the two mistakes I've made. I didn't buy enough and I sold too soon. And I hope you'll all be here next year to join us again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I'm Andy Wahlberger, the Executive Director of Stanford Professionals in Real Estate. I invite you to start your meals. Please have your salads, and I'm going to provide some remarks and make some introductions as you commence your meal. First off, I'd like to welcome our Board of Directors, our Board of Governors, and the Stanford Real Estate Council members who are here. Something special tonight. We have 4 past honorees here, Hall of Fame members. Tad Toby is here tonight. Bob Lowe is here tonight. Malin Burnham is here tonight. And Bill Tooley is here tonight. So grateful for these good men for coming to support us tonight. This is the 5-year celebration of the Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame, and we've come a long way. As one of the founders of Spire, I remember our first campus event just across the way here with a handful of alums and students. Now, with 1,800 members across the country, producing 30 events annually, a sustaining real estate council, nearly 100 members, and meaningful impact on campus with our student and faculty initiatives, we're emerging from our startup stage into a more mature organization. Earlier this fall, the Spire board confirmed a new statement of purpose for Spire to empower the Stanford community to innovate within real estate, placemaking, and the built environment. With our direct affiliation with a world-class research and educational institute, it is only fitting that we focus on where our industry is headed. So how are we doing this? First, with our alumni. We have innovation roundtables where we bring together thought leaders in traditional real estate and in the technology and entrepreneurial space. We have small group dinners across the country, impacting alumni on a human scale. With students, we have a program called Inspire, with 30 students last spring and 40 students this fall, focusing across different academic disciplines, working on entrepreneurial initiatives and startups in the real estate space. Last year, we had 50 one-on-one mentorship partnerships here on campus, 50 students who are connected to an alumni across the country on a one-on-one relationship, which we'll do again this year. And finally, with faculty, we are seeking out faculty and programs that are impacting the built environment and real estate and championing their research and initiatives, bringing an expanding audience and full range of resources to work. As we look to the future, it is imperative that we acknowledge those within our Stanford community who have been pioneers, and that is why tonight we're honoring Fred Allen and Peter Bedford. So to echo our 3 pillars of alumni, students, and faculty, I wanted to introduce a few folks who are here tonight. Over on table 12, we have a group of faculty, and maybe they are too shy to stand, but let me introduce them. Martin Fisher from the Civil Engineering Department is here. Thank you, Martin. John Barton, who we'll hear from, who runs our architecture program here at Stanford. Michael Lepick from the Civil Environmental Engineering program is here. And then we have several lecturers who do work here on campus. First, David Kleiman, who is teaching in the engineering and in the law school. Nelson Cohn from the engineering school. And Dylan Chan and Kevin Su, who are instructing in urban studies. Now, our students, we've got a bunch of students here tonight. We're not going to have them stand up individually, but by group, I'm going to ask those students to stand. So first, the students from the Civil Engineering and Sustainable Design and Construction program, if you could stand. Those students from the law school. All right, there they are. And from the Graduate School of Business. What makes Spire unique is our desire and our initiative to come back to campus and directly work with students. We're going to talk now about our student honoree. Spire, for the last several years, has provided a grant to a student, and this year our recipient will be Ethan Hale. Ethan did his undergraduate and master's work at the University of Virginia, and then here at Stanford is receiving his engineering postmaster's degree, which is similar to a PhD, but focuses on practical applications. You'll see a summary of Ethan's work up on the screen. Ethan received the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellow and had the opportunity to come here to Stanford, where he chose to do his research. His research is focused on improving design and materials of affordable housing for enhanced life cycle value and sustainability. This grant of $2,000 that Spire will be providing to Ethan will allow him to conduct interviews and site visits beyond the Bay Area and perhaps leverage the Spire network to receive input on his research. So I'd like to invite Ethan to come forward. We have a check for him and congratulate him on his work and his support. Ethan is really bright. I spent some time with him the last couple days on the phone, and I encourage you to reach out to him. The students here on campus are doing amazing things, and it's exciting when students and alumni get together. All right. Now we're going to talk about our faculty honoree tonight. John Barton is the director of the Stanford Architectural Design Program and has been running that program for the last 8 years. You'll see more information about John in your program. But John is the former member of the Palo Alto City Council and has a tremendous undergraduate program in architecture that he runs here at Stanford. One of his most famous students was quarterback Andrew Luck, who had a successful career here in his program and has gone on to do a few good things as well. John received his undergraduate master's degree in architecture from UC Berkeley, which we won't hold against him, which is a great school. He and his wife, Lydia, are resident fellows for Florence Moore Hall. John is really doing exciting things on campus and has been a partner for Spire for the last several years. We did a dinner out in Chicago. We brought 20 students to Chicago, and we hosted a dinner for his group out there to meet some of our alumni as they were studying architecture in that great city. Spire, this past fall, helped to underwrite a course entitled Workplace in the City, where they're extending learning of tech campuses from Silicon Valley into the urban and more vertical environment. And Spire is putting on a global symposium this March and the first day in April. And John and I are co-producers of that conference along with a couple of our organizations, and John has been instrumental in the programming of that. John is really a big thinker and is taking this program into new directions, and it's something that Spire is 100% behind. I want to invite John up here to share a little bit about what he's doing and provide this honor to him. Congratulations, John, for receiving the Faculty Award this year.
Thank you very much, Andy, and thank you all for this kind honor. But frankly, I feel a little bit guilty on being honored for work that I love so much. I've been lucky indeed to work with dedicated colleagues, really amazing students, at a place with immense vision and great opportunity. Cities, building, and architecture are changing, and that change must be understood, managed, massaged, and even provoked. There's much work to be done in the shape, nature, form, and purpose of architecture and its role in the growth of cities. Stanford or any other place cannot be and should not be the sole arbiter of what that role should be, but there's no reason that we cannot initiate and lead that discussion and advocate for the necessary action. After all, we are at a place synonymous with innovation and risk-taking. We in the architecture program have begun by asking what architects and leaders need to know. It will be no surprise that design rises to the top, but we also argue that students need to become knowledgeable about problem solving generally, and they need to be facile with coding, urban design, history, public administration, engineering, writing, public speaking, and a variety of subtopics. More important than those specific skills and areas of knowledge is the capacity to acquire and discern new knowledge. A moment ago, I said that cities and architecture are changing. We believe that this change is just beginning, and it is only going to accelerate. We cannot simply teach a broader set of today's skills and assume adaptation in 5 years or down the road. Instead, we must teach that adaptation and leadership to drive change rather than respond to it. And if we are to lead towards change, we must change not just what we teach, but how we teach it. And that begins in the studio. We are experimenting with student-based studios and doing real research into those outcomes. We may be at the forefront of an entirely new way to teach architecture, one that dispenses with the desecrate and the final review jury, and instead we rely on careful student preparation in advance of open and collaborative discussion, driven by and owned by those same students. In short, we're updating education to begin looking like the modern architecture office, where the best idea wins and authorship of the whole is hard to discern. Further, it is a form of an education that assumes that students will curate their own knowledge that means more and is better retained as the process is self-controlled. This quarter, we are also offering a studio with Northeastern University's Graduate School of Architecture on the future of the workplace. Andy just spoke about that. This effort, indeed, partially funded by the generous grant from Spire, for which we are deeply grateful. As much research effort as Design Studio, this 2-quarter-long sequence of courses will result in deliverables to a variety of professional stakeholders rather than a series of plotted images. The studio seeks to identify problems in the workplace and address them with innovative architectural solutions that are rooted in real needs and urban realities. We are building an entrepreneurial culture where students and faculty openly suggest changes and are given the opportunity to experiment and succeed in an environment that celebrates success but also tolerates failure. This means a place where students carve their own way through the curriculum but leave a breadcrumb trail for others to find, and where teachers offer new courses and new approaches that do not track the normal. In its best moments, it is hard to identify who are the teachers and who are the students. We're at the beginning of researching new ways to manage architectural knowledge. We don't think it's enough to simply ask students to learn more and in new ways. We must find ways to curate that knowledge. We're working with industry to be the first architecture program in the world to look at AI-based next-generation knowledge management systems. And we're doing this in community. Community and collaboration for us are not just an attribute that we point to, but a way of organizing our actions. This finds its place in our shared approach to decision-making and new approaches to teaching and the activities we do together. This is just a slice of what we are doing, but I hope that it shows that we are teaching and learning more than design. We are teaching and learning leadership, teamwork, synthesis, research, and deep thinking, and doing so in community. And we've been successful. Our students are sought after by important firms and by fine graduate schools. But what I'm most proud of is how many of them are using what they learned here to challenge the status quo. That might mean questioning their graduate education or continuing to study many topics and remaining broad-based thinkers and doing good in the world. But we are a long way from where we need to be. Part of that is the idea that every day renews the future. We are not interested in being there in 5 years and then establishing a new there. Instead, we want to maintain a vision well down the road, but be open to the detours and the forks that come along. We cannot be change agents if we cannot change ourselves. But more importantly, we can only be successful with the help of many, including you. We need a broad-based coalition to overcome the inertia of low expectations in the profession and sometimes academia. We must continue to study what we are doing and tell the world about it. We have continued work to do, and with great partners like Spire, we will achieve great things. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have now seen the part of the program tonight focusing on students and our faculty, and the rest of the evening is focused on our 2 alumni, Fred and Peter. So enjoy your meal. We'll be back to you first with Fred Allen and then conclude with Peter Bedford. Thank you.
As we continue this evening, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a distinct pleasure for me to have the opportunity to come back here to the university, and even more so on an evening like this, to have the opportunity to celebrate everything that is Spire, to look back at the work that we've done over the past 5 years, and even more importantly, to look ahead to a very bright future. As Andy said earlier and spoke so eloquently about the organization, we're really founded on the three pillars of alumni professional networking, student outreach, and educational program development. And the rest of this evening is dedicated to celebrating some of our most esteemed alumni. I always enjoy these events. It's the 5th year being part of the Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame, and it gets better every year. And one of the things that I enjoy the most is the fact that it has truly become a family. When you look back at our past honorees, many of whom are here tonight with us, it's a very, very close camaraderie and truly is a family environment. And so I always enjoy coming back together with all of you. And this year, and it's a distinct pleasure to be able to honor our first honoree for the evening, Fred Allen. Fred is not just someone that I have come to feel a familial connection with. Fred truly is family. Fred and I have had the opportunity to serve together on the Spire Board of Directors for the past few years. And in that time, he has been an inspiration and truly been a part of the lifeblood of this organization, as he has been an inspiration and part of the lifeblood of many organizations in his career. And it is without Fred, I can say very, very clearly that Spire would not be what it is today. And without the generosity and the unwavering support of Alan Matkins and their visionary leadership as a core sponsor of our organization, we would not exist. So to Mike, to Fred, and to all of the Alan Matkins representatives here tonight, we're very, very thankful. Thank you very much. But now to focus on the man, Fred Allen. You will have the opportunity now to see the first of our 2 tribute videos. This is something that I have seen grow and become more and more impressive every year as well. I know that you're going to enjoy this bit of an insight into the life and career of Fred Allen, and a great tribute to him. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
My first impression when I met Fred was I couldn't believe he was an attorney. The guy was such a live wire and kind of jocular in style, just very outgoing. I said, this guy can't be an attorney. If he's an attorney, he can't be very good.
He's not the kind of lawyer that chews you up and spits you out, gets angry, screams and hollers. Fred taught me by example not to get excited, to relax, or in his words, take it easy.
When other people are around, he's like the Energizer Bunny. He never stops.
Fred has a big heart. He's a wonderful person. He knows how to separate business from pleasure. And then in the end, it all comes back together again. And his business associates are also his friends.
My mother was my primary mentor. She wanted us to become the best we could be. And achievement was expected. My mother wanted me to be influenced by my uncle, Bud Conway, who was an entrepreneur in the construction business. And they made sure I worked very hard, maybe harder than anybody. My love of construction and real estate really started there. After my mother, Bud Conway was a true mentor for me. And he was the one who suggested that I should go to Stanford. Stanford shaped me totally. The professors, classmates, sports, Hoover. I can thank Stanford for helping introduce me to my future wife.
My brother brought Fred home from Stanford to my parents' Christmas party.
Her brother said to me, "You're a pretty good guy, but I only have one request." He said, I hope you never speak to my sister."
I was 14. Fred was 19.
It was love at first sight.
Fred loves Stanford football.
My father never misses a Stanford football game. Back in the day when they weren't very good, anytime a running back took it up the middle and didn't fumble, he would yell Heisman at the top of his lungs.
I suggested that we might attend my alma mater, Cal, and go to a few games there. And so as a family, we approached the Cal campus in a car, and we never really slowed down. He did a U-turn, and we were back across the bridge.
On the last day of school at Stanford, I was commissioned into the Navy. So I go on board that ship, and it's a spectacular attack aircraft carrier, 4,000 men, 125 airplanes. I was an officer of the deck underway, which meant I was the captain of the ship, basically, for 4 hours a day, every day that we were out at sea. And if you think you were sort of grown up, you actually grow up when you're an officer. I got a letter, which I still have, from the parents of one of my seamen who worked for me in my special services group. And I'll probably never throw that letter away. And they said, from somewhere in Idaho, "Thanks for taking such good care of my son. I know he's out there and it's a dangerous thing." And so that really was a shaping experience from the get-go. Near the end of law school, I decided, hey, I'd rather go and practice law for a year or two, and then I'll be a developer. I went to a great old 100-year-old law firm with a huge history of real estate called Stevens, Jones, Lefevre, and Smith. I worked on a team, and they wanted to build a new headquarters building, which they did. They needed to find out how to get the building up to 62 stories under the existing zoning laws, which would have kept the building much shorter. And then later, by coincidence, our little firm, Allen Mackins, took space in that building on the 54th floor. And there were no law firms above us, and all the other law firms in town were below us. So I could tell all of our clients that we were the top law firm in Los Angeles.
Fred's sort of a rare combination. He is the inventor or founder of the modern real estate practice. In the 60s and 70s, all the way till the mid-70s, there weren't a lot of real estate lawyers. There were no real estate firms. So Fred and the other founding partners had the vision to form a real estate firm. And then they had to invent what should that be like.
His idea with Allen Mackins was to take the 8 of us that started that firm and surround us with more and more great quality lawyers that we could hand the ball off to and have them score for us in the legal community. And it worked out pretty well. We went from 8 to 200 fairly quickly.
A very unique skill set of Fred is his ability to be a talent scout and to attract very talented people to the firm, and then to set the policies in place to motivate them to be the best they can be.
He's not somebody who's looking for all the glory, so it's pretty common for Fred to put his arm around somebody and say, this guy is the greatest lawyer in the world, or this guy is the smartest guy in the world, or this guy is the best businessman in the world.
This is the place where we hire lawyers that can work anywhere, but choose to work here because of our culture. And I attribute that to Fred. Fred would always take time to understand, how's your family? Gary, tell me about your daughter.
The skyline of Los Angeles is dotted with buildings that Fred was involved in. One of them that stands out is the Figaro at Wilshire building, because he was able to work with a team that was from Japan, Mitsui Fudosan USA team, from Texas, Gerald D. Hines, and the two of them managed and owned a project that is considered to be the finest office tower west of Chicago.
The Wilshire Figueroa project was our first major office development in the United States, so that was very important for us. And Fred's office really helped in the process of entitlement, which was a very complicated one.
The people I worked with at Mitsui also developed the Hale Kalani Hotel in Hawaii, which is our favorite hotel.
In the early days of Alan Matkins, my partner Claire Peck and I asked Fred to represent us on a sticky situation in San Francisco where we wanted to demolish a building and get a building underway. An existing tenant would not move out, but we felt that Fred, with his social and legal and other skills, would be the right person to accomplish that for us. And in fact, he did. And from that point, Fred and the firm have represented us for all of our projects.
One of our best experiences in my career was representing Art Center College of Design. We helped them purchase and build their new campus in Pasadena. We are very proud of our relationship with Outrigger Enterprises, and they're an old-line private hotel developer and owner. And Outrigger owns 2 of the 7 hotels on Waikiki Beach.
I was having an intense meeting, this is probably 91, with a new client that we're deciding whether they're going to hire us or not. We thought they were, and they're all Japanese. They're sitting in the conference room, and a little light bulb goes on that I should run to Fred's office, see if he's there, and bring him into the conference room so that he can close the deal. He came in, and the first thing he did was draw their attention to a bunch of miscellaneous photographs on the wall, and if they became a client of the firm, he could guarantee them that they could have the same photos in their offices and or take these ones with him. And then he told them, just from memory, every Japanese client we had, every Japanese transaction, they started to make a connection with those other Japanese clients. They forgot they were interviewing us. They thought they had already hired us, and by the time it was over, it was done.
Fred always said the most successful negotiator was the guy with the best bladder. They would be locked in a room. No one could leave the room until the deal was done. Fred could outlast anybody.
I was probably 12 years old when I first met Fred. His reputation preceded him, however. He was doing work with my father, Bill, and there were stories of Fred sleeping at the office for 2 and 3 nights in a row to get the documentation for certain deals done.
At Alan Matkins, it's always work hard, play hard, have fun. I think Fred is a very serious lawyer, a very serious businessman on the one side, and then the king of entertainment on the other side.
He makes sure everybody's having a good time. He starts administering tequila shots to enliven the crowd, and always with the same old adage: tequila tonight, tomorrow we ride.
He's invented a drink, the Frederico. It's a special drink found only at the Mauna Kea Hotel.
A Frederico is basically a fruity rum drink that has a shot of Jack Daniels in it. He calls that shot the Velvet Hammer.
So Fred's the only guy I know with a drink named after him. The Frederico, the Mauna Kea, world renowned. Just like Fred, world renowned.
He's outgoing, maybe to the extent of being a little off the cuff and maybe a little crazy at times.
I remember going to a Laker game in the 80s, and he met a guy in the bathroom, and I think they struck a deal, a business deal right then and there. That's the kind of guy he is. He's always talking to everybody, anybody, at all places, at any time.
He is the drum major. He's the guy leading the band. He is the guy with all the enthusiasm in the world. Everywhere he goes, if he's going on a flight, if he's going to be on a boat, if he's at a cocktail party, he's trying to develop new clients.
Alan Matkins is state-of-the-art. To have 31 partners in the list of the top lawyers in America in 2015 really tells a story.
His senior partners have pretty much all stayed and then retired, as opposed to gone off to start their own practice. So to me, that's always a testament to somebody's management skill and leadership abilities. The coal company, 33 years later, is still depending on his firm for their primary real estate advice, including Fred himself.
Fred Allen has built a real legacy in his career. Allen Matkins is one of the nation's most respected real estate firms. And Fred is caring. He cares about his clients, he cares about his friends, and he is a loving, loving family man. Just a wonderful human being. Fred's legacy will be remembered as one of the most thoughtful and knowledgeable advisor on both legal and business issues that the California real estate community has ever known.
But for me, I think of him as best of class. Not only the law firm, his partners, his colleagues, but Fred himself. So he'll go down as a lawyer that people look back at and aspire to be like Fred was as a lawyer, and he's not giving up anytime soon.
It's been a good run. We've had hundreds of clients and great fun, hundreds of projects, all over the United States, Mexico, Asia, Hawaii.
I've had the great fortune of being on the board of Spire together with Fred over the last several years and watched him and his enthusiasm, and it's compelling.
I think Fred's legacy will be the number of lives that he touched, from the people who work in his firm to his clients to the many people who've been served by the projects that he and his lawyers have nurtured. Fred is ebullient, friendly, engaging, and you can't help but like the guy. You can't help but engage, so I'm really privileged to have gotten to know Fred because he's such a wonderful person.
He's a living legend, but to me, he's just my dad. He's the guy that coached the baseball team and comes to all my musical performances. He's my mentor, my advisor. He's really like the head of my fan club.
He's never, without a story.
A short story, a long story, or a funny story.
He's also never without a hug or a wonderful, touching moment for his grandkids.
Yes, he loves to play with those kids.
Yes, he does. So congratulations, Fred. We are so proud of you.
Being married to Fred has broadened my view of life. I have sort of a wide-angle lens now.
What I would like to impart to my grandchildren is to always take really good care of their grandmother and their grandfather, and as they are now, and to grow up, to be well-educated, go to Stanford, be in the Olympic Games, and live happily ever after.
Congratulations, Papa. I'm so proud of you.
Now, we thought of someone to provide a personal introduction to Fred. Fred is all about his clients. And so there are thousands of companies out there that could give Fred the big thumbs up and congratulate him on this award. But we selected two presidents of real estate companies to come forward and give a personal introduction. They just so happen to be his sons, John Allen and Paul Allen.
Good evening.
Live.
There we go.
Mucho gusto.
Never a dull moment.
Fred is famous for his one-liners. We call them Fredisms. And there's even a few Fredisms that can be repeated here tonight.
The pressure is building up.
This is often said while Fred is relaxing on the beach or holding court on a bar stool.
This came for you in the mail.
Announced while approaching a friend or a complete stranger with a shot of tequila, a pineapple, or something less appropriate. When everything's going awry, Fred might declare,
"Just another day in paradise."
Minor detail, he often says. But it is all in the details. Fred is genuinely interested in people and what drives them. He's charming and disarming. He asks a lot of questions, and he has total recall. He actually remembers our friends' resumes better than we do. And it's this ability that makes him such a good connector of people, a matchmaker. Definitely one of the keys to his success.
In the chaos that life generously dishes out, Fred's one-liners have always kept my world aligned. aligned. I knew everything was going to be all right.
So we're here to shed a little light on the man. He is outside of the office, the family Fred. He has an amazing ability to flip the switch from work mode to family mode. And you can always just tell by looking, because he only has 2 costumes. At the end of each day, off comes the work costume, the blue blazer, the blue button-down shirt, the red Stanford tie, and on goes the blue Hawaiian shirt, and then it's family time. And when he was home with us, he was truly with us, present and engaged.
I think Fred's biggest gift to me was that he encouraged me to choose my own path. Even when we didn't see eye to eye, he gave me the freedom to explore the world and live my dreams. And he did so with unfailing love and support.
Well, there was definitely some unconditional love going on when I was learning to play the drums. Now we share a great love of the blues, be it Albert King, Freddie King, B.B. King, the occasional Burger King. So Fred has incredible drive, energy, and work ethic, and he's always pushed us to take full advantage of the head start that he was able to provide for us. He had very high standards, very high expectations. He was firm but fair, but most importantly and lasting is that he led us by example. He's shown us what it is to be a great family man, a loving husband, just a great dad, and now an amazing grandfather.
We couldn't be more blessed to have you as our father, and I couldn't be more honored tonight to introduce you.
So everyone, please rise and give a warm welcome to your Southern California representative for the 2015 inductee to the Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame, Mr. Frederick Lee Allen.
As Fred comes up here, my name's Mike Matkins. I've been Fred's partner for 100 years. And this is probably more for me than Fred. But I want to thank Fred for his many, many years of leadership, of ethics, of friendship. He's been a wonderful, wonderful partner to me. And Fred, thank you.
So I think my first act would be to kind of go out the side door here and turn this over to Bill Tooley, Ted Tovey, and Bob Lowe, and Malin's here too. What I did was I took each of their speeches and added to them. So I'm up to like 48 minutes here. I want to thank John and Paul for that great introduction. We're very proud of you guys, as you can tell. And now that you have your children, you know about carpool from the other side. Thank you to Patrick Tooley for doing such a great job as dinner chair this year. Thanks to Chad Hagel, Andy Wahlberger, Jennifer Heafy worked so hard to make this event successful, and for all the other great things you do for Spire all year long. A special thanks to the board of Spire and the entire Spire organization. Spire is a game changer for Stanford University real estate. It really, real estate was around, but once Spire put us all together, it really is a game changer. And Spire is having a dramatically expanding role and impact on Stanford and all over Stanford, as you know, Andrew Luck. So hang on there. Thank you to the members of the Stanford Real Estate Council who are here tonight. The membership of SREC is a total who's who in real estate. And we are so happy that this group exists and has heavy participation. We have our annual meeting tomorrow, and so I look forward to seeing all the SREC people there tomorrow. It's really, all the panelists and speakers are fabulous. Thank you to the generous sponsors and guests for your support of this Hall of Fame event. And thank you to Peter Bedford and his wonderful wife, Kit. I've known Peter. Thank you. Peter's not such a bad guy. It's all right. I've known Peter for almost 50 years, and I'm very honored to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with him. Peter is a true pioneer and real estate icon. Peter and I have served together on the board of overseers of Hoover Institution at Stanford University for more than 25 years, and we've had a lot of fun there. And speaking of Hoover, we have a whole Hoover table here tonight who I'm sure would have rather done something else, maybe not. They'd probably be studying. Special thank you to John Razian, who led the Hoover Institution for more than 26 years as director. John has been, and the other great overseers who are here tonight with their wives. John, you did a fabulous job. And we wanted you to be director forever, as you know, and it was time for you to lateral, but we're very, very happy that you're still at Hoover as a senior fellow, so we're not losing track of you. You cannot escape. Also, thank you. Also, about Hoover, there's a huge crossover. Obviously, several of the honorees were also at Hoover, and by a couple of weeks ago, Condoleezza Rice presented an incredible, fabulous keynote speech to like 4,000 or 5,000 people at Urban Land Institute in San Francisco, and she was off the scale. She's spectacular. Kathleen and I were originally attracted to Hoover, and you have to indulge me here, by the great work of Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell. And thereafter, the rest is history with George Shultz, John Taylor, Condoleezza Rice, and many other great Hoover scholars are still leading the charge. I better stop right now or I'll just keep talking about Hoover, which I would love to do for like 2 days. We could bring on the tequila shooters. Everything would be fine. My special thanks to the prior honorees, and they are Don Cole, Bill Wilson, Henry Segerstrom, Malin Burnham, Bill Tooley, Buzz McCoy, Bob Lowe, and Ted Taube. Thanks for your great careers and distinguished contributions to the real estate world and beyond. You have been a great inspiration to all of us and to the next generations. Hang on here. Thank you to the video participants. And I'm very happy that all the really terrible best stuff is on the cutting room floor. The outtakes from the videos were hilarious. John Cushman said some of his remarks were classified. Ray Werda made me validate his parking before he would appear on the video. This is a true story. Kittredge was there. Nelson Rising said, I have such a bad golf game, he hopes I might be a halfway good attorney. And thank you to the great, we're getting here now. Thank you to the great Alan Macken's partners, associates, and staff who deserve all the credit here tonight. They are the ones who represented our clients so well, were always willing to go the extra mile, and kept our clients happy. And hang on here, a big change here in the pages. Thank you to my fellow founders at Alan Macken's, Mike Mackins, Brian Luck, John Gamble, and Rick Mallory. You are the best of the best. When we founded the firm 38 years ago, seems like yesterday, we had very complementary skill sets, and we all shared the same core values, which have served us so well over all these years. And we all went to Stanford, which was a great common bond. We had a very special esprit de corps and a sense of teamwork, which was immediately recognized by our clients. We took our legal work very seriously, but we tried not to take ourselves too seriously. So here's to the founders. Thank you. And thank you also to Tony Natsis, who joined the firm in '91 and became a named partner in 2006. He has made tremendous contributions to the success of Alan Macken since the day he got here. He has boundless talent and energy. So here's to Tony. And here comes maybe the most important one. Thank you to Kathleen and our great family. Kathleen was there at the beginning and helped us create and grow our law firm. Alan Macken's would be a vastly different place today if it weren't for Kathleen's influence on me and all my partners and our clients. Kathleen should definitely be receiving this award tonight. So here's to the lovely Kathleen. Wow. There you go. Thank you to our great extended families who attended in LA. You are the best. Our 4 little granddaughters are a dream come true for all of us. And thank you to Lady Luck. In any successful organization, there has to be good luck, and we got an extra dose of good luck along the way. We survived and thrived through all the booms and busts. I also want to thank the great Alan Mackins alumni. Many of them attended in LA. They are great people and great attorneys who have gone on to other pursuits where they are all very successful. We are very proud of them, and good news, many of our alumni have hired us to be their legal counsel. So we like them even more. I want to dedicate this award to all of our friends and clients along the trail for the last 50 years, including past honorees and their great families. We have been blessed with clients who liked and trusted and who were on the cutting edge of developing and investing in incredible projects. There we go. I also dedicate this award to the great real estate leaders and overachievers and to the real estate industry at large. All the successful developers and investors that we have dealt with over all these years share certain common characteristics, such as optimism, creativity, innovation, leadership, humor, I like that one, total dedication to their vision to build and improve the world we live in, the incredible drive to make their vision into reality. And they have different personalities, they come in different shapes and sizes, but they all care about relationships. They care about friends and family. So it makes it fun to work with all these wonderful people in the real estate world and help them achieve their goals and visions now and into the future. Our clients have been the best of the best. Together, I hope that we have made California and the world a better place. The future of real estate is brighter than ever at Alan Mackins. We have the best young partners, attorneys, and clients that we've ever had working on exciting new projects. So the future is now. So it's time to celebrate the past, present, and future tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight to celebrate with us. Thank you. Thank you, Anyway, there, perfect.
It's my absolute pleasure on behalf of the Board of Directors of Spire to present this award to Fred Allen.
Thank you. Make sure I hold it straight up.
Thank you very much, Fred. And thank you for, yet again, staying under the 10-minute clock. Way to go. Excellent work. So as we move on with the evening, and as dessert is being served, we'll move right into the honor for Peter Bedford as well. I did want to make one special announcement as dessert is being served. There's one person in this audience that I don't think any of us will ever be able to keep pace with. And tonight is his 88th birthday. So I don't know if they can find 88 candles back there, but if they can, please put them on Malin Burnham's dessert. Malin, happy birthday. I call our attention back to what we have referred to earlier this evening as the cornerstone of Spire, which is innovation. And I'm reminded from my own career and from stories that we've heard of some of the great Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame inductees in the past of the link between innovation and entrepreneurship and risk-taking and getting out there ahead of the crowd and setting the tone. And I think when you look at Peter Bedford's career and his life, that is what he's done. He's set the tone. He's been out ahead. He's been an entrepreneur. And I shared a story in front of another audience about a common link that Peter and I share that I learned by watching his tribute video. And I'm giving you a bit of a preview, and I'll warn you it's a bit of a spoiler as well, that both he and I started out with an investment from our fathers. And it was an investment, not a gift. It's a very important distinction. And it reminded me in my own life how important that is to setting that tone and setting the idea in your mind of being self-reliant and focusing on solving your own problems and building your own legacy. So I'm very, very pleased to have the opportunity to share with you in our video tribute the legacy of Peter Bedford. Enjoy.
I always knew what I wanted to do, which was go into the real estate business. My dad was probably my biggest mentor as I reflected on thinking about my life, in that he instilled in me a lot of principles and ideas. Basic principle was constantly being that you had to understand the creation of capital rather than selling a service. When you're sleeping at night, someone's paying you rent. During the summers, I worked for an electric company as an electrician's apprentice on my father's and his partner's properties in Oakland, and learned a lot about the construction industry and how it operated. Coming to Stanford was a treat for me because I'd been to a boys' school from the 7th to the 12th grade and never been into a class with ladies. And fortunately, in July 4th, 1956, I met a young lady who was going to Stanford with me, and we dated ever since and married for 54 years. When I left Stanford, I went into the Navy for 3 years, and then came back and was going to go to business school. And I got accepted at Harvard, and was all set to go. But I had a long talk with my dad, and he said, "Are you a pupil or a student?" He said, "Well, why don't you get into business for yourself?" So I started managing properties for Bedford Butner and made a deal on West Grand Avenue they paid me $2,500, and I built a little office building for Richfield Oil Company, which they turned around and sold for $250,000. And I said, well, I can do this. In the 60s, I started doing convenience markets, and I borrowed money from my dad to support the convenience markets. I borrowed about $150,000 from him, I remember. And he said, I'll sign a note. You sign a note and I'll give you the money, but I want it back in 6 months. Well, 6 months came and I said, hey, Dad, I can't pay you back. I got this wonderful letter from him that said, Dear Peter, your mother and I won't always be around. You got to learn to be on your own. This is our notice to you to pay off the loan. So I was shocked. And I took my projects down to the Bank of America. So they loaned me the money. And I said, under one condition, there's no guarantee for my father. And they said, we don't expect it. And that's why I banked with the Bank of America for all my development life. So I would buy a site. I did 1, and then I did 3, and then I did 5. I ended up involved in about 100 units of 7-Eleven over a period of time of 10 years. I was known as the 7-Eleven King. He did a very large project in the 70s for the Clorox Company, their headquarters in the Port of Oakland Industrial Park, which we financed with the insurance company and were able to, and the regional headquarters for the Bank of America.
He, at one point in time, was probably the largest single individual borrower from Bank of America. That's how big a developer he was, and he was building stuff all over the country.
My first impression was, he's a big, gregarious, very powerful kind of guy, and you could see that he had the makings of a pretty good little real estate empire going on. After I'd worked for him for a while, he said, okay, I'm going to give you the opportunity to be a partner in one of these warehouse projects. So I had a handshake deal with Peter as a partner. I think I had a 12.5% interest in that. After the building sold, I thought that was it, and maybe I'd get a little something out of it. But a few weeks later, I got a check handed to me for $831,000, which was my full share of the value of that office building, and that was very unique. There were very few people in the industry that would have given a young guy starting out a check for $831,000.
Peter was not easily intimidated. On this particular occasion, Hoover was having their annual dinner. Elizabeth Taylor was seated next to Peter. And after they settled themselves into their seats, she looked over him and sort of raised an eyebrow and said, "Why am I sitting next to you?" Peter gave about 3 seconds delay, looked her in the eye and said, "I'm your host."
In 1986, I did my biggest project, was the acquisition of Kaiser Aluminum's real estate for about $450 million. My partner, Kemper Insurance Company, loaned me the infrastructure money, and we had about $2 billion in loans outstanding. They decided in 1992 that they wanted to get out of the real estate business like right now. So we parted our ways, and that's how I got into the REIT business. I owned about 30% of the company and decided to use that as my financial base in building a portfolio of properties. We went from $20 million in assets to about $860 million in sales.
In the time he managed the company, the overall return was 18.2% per year, compounded for 14 years. Like $1,000, 14 years later would be over $10,000. I mean, he made the stockholders very wealthy.
Whenever we'd be in competition for a tenant and he'd win, he'd send me flowers. I'd show up in the morning in the office and there's a new bouquet at the receptionist's desk. I would say, "Uh-oh, we just lost another one to Peter."
One of the great stories I love that Peter told me is that I'd asked him where he was, and he said, I had just gotten back from the Midwest. I flew out to look at a project, and basically I thought it might be just to observe, but he said he dressed as a janitor and walked the property and talked to tenants to see if they were happy with the property. And that's a pretty amazing thing to do.
Peter and I were both involved over many years in an organization known as the Urban Land Institute. We were pioneering about 20 years ago the concept of district councils, of having an urban land activity in every major city, and since then it's gone international. And the project was failing, and Peter offered to put up $500,000 to keep it going for one more year, behind the scenes. I don't think very many people know about that. And so they did it for one more year, and it suddenly turned around, and it was the major impetus in the growth of the Urban Land Institute over the last 20 years.
I'm a 70-year-old man with 22-year-old twins. By the time I came to know Mr. Bedford, we'd had about 8 years of infertility, still no children, and we went for 5 more years, and the costs went up and up and up and up, and the insurance under Bedford paid it all the time, and my doctor neighbor was aghast. He said, "Insurance doesn't pay for infertility, these kind of treatments." Well, years later, I found out, not from Peter, but from the chief financial officer, that Peter had been paying that. It kind of chokes me up.
Peter has a really refined taste in art. I met Peter in the mid-'80s. He called me up and said, I'd like you to come by and talk about doing some work for me. And the one thing I noticed was that on all the walls of his office were really amazing pieces of art, and I couldn't really even pay attention during the meeting because I was going like, is that a real O'Keeffe? Is that a, it's like the artwork was probably worth more than the building he was in at that time.
One of the things that my dad gave to me was that you have to set your life into 3 venues. You have to be able to live off your salary, or your hobbies, or your investments. My dad, in his life, he made more money in the appreciation of his gun collection than he did working for Henry Kaiser and Company. As a result of that, my wife and I had hobbies together. Our hobby is building an art collection for ourselves.
His intense interest in art carries forward into his buildings. And I think that good buildings are aesthetically pleasing, functional, and economic. And a lot of developers forget the aesthetics part. Peter doesn't.
The most significant project, I think, that had the most impact was the Napa Valley Corporate Park. And I had done the logo for it, and the logo was a grape crusher. We started talking about that truly this could be an opportunity to do a great piece of art. And to this day, that statue is actually the gateway when you come into the wine country, and no one knows that Peter Bedford is responsible for it.
Well, I've done a few things for Stanford which align with our interests. One is we've given art to the school, including Beverly Pepper sculptures, Frank Stella nightgown sculpture. And then for Hoover, I established a fund for my father on property rights. And then I've continued to do that in instilling a chair in private property rights for the Hoover Institution.
Our carillon, which is a collection of bells, came to us from Belgium. You have to have them reclad every now and again, and it was time for them. They get out of tune. Peter stepped forward and bought a big one, which means an expensive one.
Peter is an icon of real estate developers for our generation.
To really endure a long-term career and achieve success under multiple market conditions, that's rare. And to do that while at the same time caring about your shareholders and your employees and your friends professionally that are around you, that's something really special.
Peter is the most generous man I know. He will give you anything. If you're Peter's friend, there's lots of laughing, lots of kidding, lots of joking, and he has your back.
Peter is a wise man. He's a man that's interested in other people. He has become, in many ways, my counselor for 25 plus years.
Well, I think the one thing I'd like to do is to find the right place for older people to live in as a development over time, which would combine the beauty of a project that included art, included a lot of the things that Kirsten and I have experienced together. I think I'd like to try my hand at putting a community together like that. It's going to be in Napa, in the vineyards. It'll be fun.
As Peter considered someone to provide a personal introduction of him, he thought of Ron Sturzenegger, who is a senior executive of Bank of America. Now, Ron is a Stanford graduate, a member of our Stanford Real Estate Council, and has been one of our most engaged and supportive alumni members of our organization, and is a mentor to me. But Ron, prior to Bank of America, worked at Morgan Stanley in investment banking, and Bedford Properties was one of his clients. So decades ago, Ron was working with Peter deep in the trenches and really sees Peter as a mentor. So we're going to invite Ron to come forward and provide an introduction of Peter.
So thank you. Well, first, let me also offer my congratulations to Fred Allen. Congratulations, an excellent ambassador for all of us here at Stanford. So congratulations to you. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. And before I can talk about Peter and so all the great things about him, I just got to acknowledge that behind every Peter is a phenomenal support. And Kit, you have been spectacular. So please, welcome also. Congratulations. And you just had the opportunity to see the video. There's just so many things that I could talk about when it comes to what Peter has done for the real estate industry. But I wanted to also talk about what Peter has done for the people in this room. And, you know, when you're at Stanford University, you're constantly thinking about innovation and new frontiers and pioneers. And Peter has been an unbelievable pioneer for the real estate industry. And I thought I'd give you a couple of the innovative firsts that Peter has done. I thought really what I'd talk about is not only what he's done, but how the people in this room have benefited from it. So let me just give you a couple of those along the way. The first is he made real estate a profession. And if you think back at the time when Peter got into the real estate business, mostly it was corporations who built headquarters buildings and built buildings and factories for themselves. There wasn't a profession around real estate until people like Trammell Crow and Peter Bedford came along and made it a respectable profession that many of the people in this room today have taken on and carried on. So for that, we're indebted to Peter. The second, and he mentioned it up here today, he did the first ever major corporate real estate acquisition. Again, I talked about how mostly corporations owned real estate. Kaiser Aluminum owned a big real estate development business called Kaiser Real Estate. Peter got together with them, bought the entire company. Didn't say, I'll take these properties and not those properties. It was one of the first major, what I'll call corporate real estate takeovers, and Peter did it, right? He and his partners. But again, didn't just take over it himself. Once again, an innovator, was the first one to raise foreign capital. Went to Kemper Finance of Switzerland and got them to be his partner, not to buy an existing office building in downtown New York, which you might understand, but actually to buy a real estate business and a real estate development business. So again, many of us now who work every day with foreign capital, Peter was one of the first one to open up that foreign capital and did it in such a way that foreign capital continued to flow in to the U.S. And let's just talk for a moment about what he got a hold of when he got a hold of Kaiser Real Estate. One of the biggest projects, then called Rancho California, is now called Temecula. 28,000 acres of raw land, basically at the border of San Diego and Riverside counties. And Peter and his team went through, took that 20,000 acres and did what I'll call one of the first master planned communities in Southern California. Put in the roads, put in the schools, put in the businesses, put in the houses, really laid the whole thing out. Sort of many of us think about these master planned communities today as being pretty normal. This was 1985. Very unusual, and I think really kind of was one of the first people to coin the phrase, a community where you can live, work, and play. And again, many of us have benefited from the ability to live, work, and play in an environment like that. And then Peter, as he mentioned also in his video, when Kemper decided they won out, was one of the first ones to access the public markets. He actually went public as a REIT. And if you think back to that early 1990s, that was not particularly popular activity. But in order to go public, you had to have the personality to treat your shareholders fairly. You had to be up to stand up to corporate America. You had to report in a GAAP accounting policy and approach. And again, real estate had to be a profession, not a hobby. So Peter led many of us into the public markets. As Andy talked about, I was a young investment banker when Peter took his company public, and we learned together how to access the public markets for real estate. And then in 2006, once again being an innovator, realized that the private markets were now paying some pretty incredible prices for public companies, and sold Bedford Properties to a private investor who came along who saw more value in a private enterprise than the public markets were willing to pay. And as we just heard about, generated a roughly 18% return to his shareholders. Once again, looking to benefit the shareholders and treat them fairly as part of the process. And again, I always say many of us now have the opportunity to raise money in the capital markets, raise money internationally, and do large-scale acquisitions because of the pioneering that Peter and his team have done. But I just want to say a couple of other things. He's done that at the same time he's been a good citizen as well. Number one, he's been a ULI Foundation governor, and he's a former trustee of ULI, all the while building a real estate business. He's been on a lot of public boards. He's been on the board of Bank of America, for which we greatly appreciate his service and his direction. He's been on the board of Kaiser as well, and he's been on the board of Bixby Land. So again, always accessing and working in the public markets on corporate boards. And he's been a serious contributor to this great university, Stanford, including an overseer of Hoover and chairman of the overseers from 2005 to 2008, giving back not only his talent, but his time and his contributions as well. And the last thing, and I think this is one of the more impressive ones, only 5 people in the history of Stanford have been honored to be an Uncommon Commitment Award from Hoover. And Peter is one of those 5. So again, if Peter, on behalf of all of us who sit in this room today, who take advantage of the professional real estate atmosphere that we find, who find that everybody in the world wants to invest in America today because of the way we have treated them and really because of the way Peter has shown us the way. You're a classic real estate professional. You're an innovator. You're a pioneer. And you are a role model, Peter, for all of us on how we want to lead remarkable lives as Stanford professionals in real estate. So Peter, congratulations and welcome to the Stanford Hall of Fame.
By the way, if you're wondering what these S stand for, that's Stanford. It's for all you Cal graduates to take home and put under your pillow. Thank you, Ron. That was very nice and a wonderful introduction. My mother would have been very proud of me. I wish she could have heard it. But my wife couldn't believe it. She gave me a hug for the first time for my accomplishments. I apologize for the voice. I've just recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and sometimes I have a tough time talking, which is rare. I want to thank Spire for this honor, and congratulations to Fred Allen. Your family should be very proud of you, and I've been amazed at the family aspect of not only your family life, but of instilling a family atmosphere in your law firm. That's really an outstanding job, and you should be very proud of it. And congratulations, Fred. I'm going to stand up here for 45 minutes so all of you can understand how it is to be an old man trying to get the hell out of here. This is the first Stanford honor I've ever had. My grades were never great, and I wanted to thank Kirsten, my wife of 54 years, for getting me through school. Without her, I never would have graduated. She took great class notes, which I could copy. Thank you, Kit. I want to thank Spire for selecting me for this honor. It is a great tribute to be selected, especially when I joined 2 of my Alpha Delta fraternity brothers, Bill Wilson and Bill Tooley. We were all in the same house at Stanford about the same time. I don't think that we imbued it in talking about real estate, but other things. Of note, I want to thank those who have helped me in my struggle as a developer and put me into the wonderful position I'm in today. Some of you are here tonight. Marty Zankel, a premier negotiator who always had his finger pointing at you. Isn't that right, Marty? George Vukasin, sage advisor and great family friend for over 50 years. Thank you, George. Bill Morrish, part of First American Title, who introduced me to kayaking. Thank you, Bill and Eva Marie. John Razian, the gifted and recently retired director of the Hoover Institution, who showed me you have to have freedom in order to have ownership. Ed Andrews, our first accountant. He stayed with me. He started me out in 1963. I didn't realize that the government had their hand in your pocket, but that's how long it's been. Ned Pike, who introduced me to airplanes and is a Top Gun himself. A lot of fun, Ned. And Diana Green, who puts up with me with my rants and raves and still does it. Thank you, Diana. Don George, who cared for me by driving for the extended family and has been a family friend forever. Thanks, Don. And many of you, and a special thanks to Sister Claire and Sister Christine, and to Brother Mel, for I know they have their prayers. They're keeping me in their prayers. Thank you. And to many of you who are here, many thanks. I probably left some people out, but I appreciate all you've done for me. Without all your efforts, I couldn't be here. I would like to thank those who've provided me the capital to expand my horizons in the wonderful world of real estate. And I'm honored tonight because Don Dormer, who really made the Kaiser deal, is in this room, who, until I gave him a check for $1 million, financed that project. I remember him standing there with his mouth open, saying, "Oh my God, we're going to go ahead and do it." It's great. This is a great business, and you get back what you put into it. And for you students who are here tonight, consider some of these axioms. Get into a business that when you're sleeping at night, someone is paying your rent. Manage capital. Don't sell a service. Always leave a little bit in it for the next guy. Be an owner. Timing is the most important thing. A good deal doesn't need money. Analyze, organize, and deputize. Remember that, John Razian? Always have an exit. And your word is your bond. Again, thank you for this honor. And please remember a quote from Edward Markham. There is a destiny that makes us brothers. No one goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others comes back into our own. Thank you.
Again, it's my pleasure to provide this award to Peter Bedford on behalf of the Board of Directors of Spire. Thank you, Peter. And we have one last gift to present to both of the honorees. This is a special tribute that we provide to each of our Hall of Fame members, which is to literally offer them a seat at the table. These hand-carved wooden chairs come from the same craftsman who created all of the wood carvings at the Stanford Institute and Peking University in Beijing, China. We took our first international excursion of the Stanford Real Estate Council to China a couple of years ago and had the opportunity to visit that facility and remarked so much at the quality of the craftsmanship that they offered to put us in touch with the craftsmen, and that is the source of these chairs we provide to each of our honorees. So from this day forward, Peter Bedford and Fred Allen have a seat at the table with all of their fellow honorees. Now, as we close the evening, we come to what for me personally is in some ways a bittersweet but also extraordinarily exciting moment and an opportunity I have to share some news and announcement with you. As we said, as Andy shared with you, this is a very, very important time in the life cycle of Spire. As we look back at our first 5 years and everything that's been accomplished and look ahead to the future, it's a period of transition. And one of the great transitions that's occurring is in the leadership of the organization itself. It was now 21 years, 1 month, and 10 days ago, not that I'm counting, that I showed up here at Stanford University and at Branner Hall, which was my freshman dorm. And there are two people who are in this room tonight who are there with me. My current business partner and fellow board member for Spire, Patrick Orozco, and his roommate, Andy Wahlberger. The three of us are all Brannerites and very proud to be friends and brothers for all of that time. And I'm proud to count them as some of the closest people in my life. Andy has served this organization loyally and nobly and with great skill for many years as the executive director. He is about 4 years into a 2-year commitment that he made to me as a personal favor to lead this organization, and he has done a fantastic job. We've been through an exhaustive search, reaching out to all of our contacts, every relationship we have here at the university and abroad, to try to find someone who could possibly fill the shoes of Andy. And I'm proud to say that after that search, we have landed ourselves a phenomenal new executive director for the organization to carry the organization forward into the future. She is a graduate of the class of 1991, served as a senior class president of her graduating class at Stanford, is a JD MBA from the University of Virginia, served with the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee as a subcommittee staff director, and is currently in a special position as a student alumni programs officer and alumni relations officer with the Stanford GSB. We are extraordinarily lucky to have a new leader for this organization, and I'm very happy tonight for the first time to announce publicly the hiring of Elizabeth Lambert Youngblood as the new executive director for Spire. I would like Andy and Elizabeth to please join me up here so that we can acknowledge the past, the present, and the future that is Spire. And I thank all of you for being here tonight to share in the wonderful success of this organization and everything that it has meant to the university and what it will mean going forward as we establish ourselves as a fixture and an institution and part of this great institution of Stanford University. I will allow Andy to have the honor of providing a few closing remarks this evening. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
This has been a great night. I'm really excited that we've been able to honor Fred Allen and Peter Bedford. I've been at this position for 4 years. It's been a blast, most importantly because of the quality of the people, both the alumni, the students, and the faculty, and the great ideas that we've shared. And I wish Elizabeth well, and we'll be close with Spire in the years to come. But thank you for a great night. Drive safe, and thank you to Fred and Peter.